Welcome back to my channel. We are having 2 or 3 cold days here with our first snow, which is pretty exciting. It's a little later than usual, and we're enjoying looking out the window at the beautiful snow. And while that's going on outside, I'm doing some baking inside. I'm making a couple of recipes for the blog, and I'm also just doing my weekly bake for bread. This particular recipe is coming soon. It is for a sourdough, garlic, and herb loaf made with all freshly milled flour. And lately I've been getting doughs ready and putting them in the fridge, and then when I am kneading a loaf of bread, all I gotta do is pull it out and make or bake the bread. Now this one had fresh herbs and garlic. The house smelled amazing when I baked it off. I'll show it to you in just a few minutes. And now I'm going to be making a sourdough Dutch baby pancake or German pancake. This is also coming soon to the blog. I have never had one of these, and I just decided I was gonna come up with one. It's really simple. It's just sourdough starter, eggs, milk, some vanilla, and a little bit of sugar. I'm using date sugar. Our grocery store just recently started getting organic date sugar, and I'm just trying it out to see what I think about it. And so far, I like it pretty well. It's not exactly, of course, like regular sugar, but it did fine. And this German pancake was a real hit. My husband and I we devoured this. It was so good, and it's high protein. Now there are versions that you can make with just flour, eggs, and milk. This one does not have any added flour. It's just sourdough starter, eggs, milk, a little bit of sugar, and some vanilla extract. It doesn't puff up quite as much as the ones that you make with flour, but it is very convenient to make, and I'm sure your family will absolutely love this recipe. Top this with a little bit of the sugar and some butter, and then I put some maple syrup on top. No, I drizzled some honey. Sorry. I was out of maple syrup. I drizzled some honey on top. It was so good. My husband was like, you need to start making these more often. It was so good. Here is that beautiful garlic and herb loaf of bread. Look at that. All freshly milled flour. So you can get beautiful, lofty loaves with freshly milled flour. You just have to pay a little more attention to the gluten development, but absolutely delicious. Now I am moving on to, I had this requested. How about making a sourdough artisan loaf that is kneaded in a stand mixer and made in a loaf pan? Now it's still an artisan loaf with a couple of little tweaks, but it's just my usual artisan loaf recipe, and I kneaded it until it would pass the window pane test. I used the Bosch mixer. It took around 8 minutes, and I just let this rise like I normally would. And when it came time to put it in the banneton basket, I put it in a loaf pan, and then I put it in the fridge overnight and allowed it to do its rise. And we will take a look at that after it's baked in just a few minutes. I think it turned out pretty well. I prefer the banneton basket myself for an artisan loaf, but it still turned out great. And now we're moving on to something really fun. This is already over on the blog. It is for Mile High freshly milled biscuits. These are so fun because they're like Grand's biscuits when you're finished with them. It's just freshly milled flour, olive oil, milk, baking powder, and salt, and just a drizzle of honey. When I'm making all freshly milled recipes, I always do just a little bit of honey because, freshly milled flour has a really strong flavor. And especially for something like a biscuit, a delicate thing like that, I think just a touch of honey only makes it even more delicious. Now, what makes these so good is the flaky layers. And the way that you do that is roll it out and then fold it over on itself and keep rolling it out, and do that several times. And each time that you do it builds another layer, and then you get kind of a Grand's biscuit. And to make them Mile High, you want to roll the dough out much taller, so like 1 3/4 to 2 inches. But look at that already, flaky layers, big tall biscuits. These were a hit. We ate them way more quickly than we should have, but I brushed the tops with some butter, and we enjoyed these with our dinner. So here's that artisan loaf that was kneaded and in a loaf pan overnight in the fridge, and it rose really well. I baked this in one of these graniteware pans. I put the lid on for 20 minutes and the lid off for 15 minutes at 450 degrees, and I thought it turned out really, really good. It's very, I guess what you would call it, convenient, because you can make sandwiches with this a little easier than your artisan loaves. Well, thank you all so much for joining me on this snowy day on our homestead as I did a bunch of baking, and I hope that you all are doing well, and we will see you soon on the next video.